There was no money left, no cash to buy any more food, not wanting to tell any of my friends, not wanting to ask for help. I remember thinking then, I don't ever want to have to rely on someone else. I want to be in charge of what I earn. So I knew 100% that I would have my own business.
Welcome to The Curious Corner, where we unravel the stories behind our guests through the lens of curiosity. In today's episode, I'm joined by Athena Cauley-Yu, who is the founder of Meticulous Ink, a bespoke letterpress printing and fine stationery company based in the UK. Athena, thank you for agreeing to come on today. How are you doing?
I am great, thank you. How are you, Ben?
I am outstanding. It's
Of course you are.
Of course I'm outstanding. No, it's lovely to reconnect after, I know it's been a while, so
Yeah.
glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for asking.
Of course. For those listening, could you please give a brief overview of who you are and what you do?
I am Athena and I am owner of Meticulous Ink, which is a luxury letterpress print company based in Bath. We produce our own line of luxurious stationery and paper goods, as well as doing bespoke print work for small and private print projects. So things like wedding invites, personal stationery, business cards, and I also teach workshops.
Very interesting, and I'm sure we'll dive into that a lot more later as well. It's been I believe 13 and a half years now since Meticulous Ink has been running.
Correct.
But I'd kind of like to go back to a start a bit first and really learn what was your earliest memory of wanting to start your own business and what was the cause behind that initial spark.
So my earliest memory of wanting a business, my mum was always very, very encouraging and would leave lots of self-development, self-improvement books around. So I was always interested in changing where I was going, like that possibility. But my earliest memory specifically of wanting to have my own business, so I'm one of three and from a single parent family. So I was raised by my mum. My dad would come and visit every so often, and he would leave the child support in cash. And the gaps between him visiting would get longer and longer. And there was a particular week where obviously this was before mobile phones and stuff, so we'd have to just rely on him showing up, and he would call the house phone and say that he was coming, and then he wouldn't turn up, and then he wouldn't turn up, and then he wouldn't turn up. And this particular week, there was no money left, and there was no cash to buy any more food. And this was maybe when I was 11, and so it was literally going through the dregs in the cupboard. So there was I think there was 3 digestive biscuits left, and so I took those to school for my lunch. And I remember being really hungry and having this shame, not wanting to tell any of my friends, not wanting to ask for help. I remember thinking then, I don't ever want to have to rely on someone else for money, to be in charge of what I earn. I want to be responsible for that. I don't want to have to rely on someone else. So I knew 100% that I would have my own business.
It's so fascinating how the things in your childhood can then have such a big impact later on in life. But yeah, you turned a bad situation into a good situation, right? And used that as energy, and then kind of pushed yourself forward, and then at that point made a decision of, I don't want to be in that situation ever again, and be in control of your own destiny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a big part of wanting to have my own business was because of that specific situation, and also because my mum was so encouraging. And it's only fairly recently that I realised sort of how poor we were. We didn't have running hot water, and we'd have to go to the laundrette because there was no washing machine installed. Yeah, I had a really happy childhood, and I knew there was more that I could do to change my story.
for anyone, if you ever get the chance to meet Athena always brings like the positive energy, good vibes. I don't think I've ever seen a day where Athena is like sad or like down. It's like always like 100% positive vibes. Um, so yeah, like the fact that, like you say, now you've kind of realized more that that was the environment you were brought up in, to then be the complete opposite, like every other day, um, and like still have that like positive mindset and positive outlook on life, I think is super inspiring. And I know you mentioned your mum a couple of times within that, and was a big reason, probably why you are now kind of like that, I say, with the positive affirmations and like leaving self-help books around. But maybe you could just yeah, go a bit more into that, and essentially how like your mum encouraged you and supported you at such an early age.
So I often feel like my mum kind of experimented. So I'm the youngest of three. So it was like we each had quite a different upbringing, I feel like. So it was like she kind of practiced and then got to me and it was like, okay, we're going to try it this way. So we'd go to the library loads and we'd like get out lots of books and, just have them around. Then I would just end up reading. Loved to read. And there were always, as well, there was always art materials around. So there was always some kind of outlet to be making and to be creative. Because I always loved that as well. So there'd be like paint and, scraps of paper and card. And I remember getting into my sister had a magazine, it had a foundation sample in it. Like I made a piece of art out of this foundation. And yeah, because my mum had a very difficult upbringing, very, very difficult childhood, and has not had an easy life at all. And I often think it's quite a miracle, actually, how me and my siblings turned out so great, despite that and despite that hardship. Yeah. I mean, she always says that I was born and I was just optimistic, I was just relaxed and happy. And so that's definitely part of it. Like I was just innately optimistic and innately positive. And then also on top, then, her feeding me these books and, I had the Thunderbirds, the Cadillac. I had a little toy of the pink Cadillac, and my mum would always be like, "Well, you can have one of those. You can buy yourself one of those one day." So just like sprinkling it everywhere throughout my life.
Yeah, it's like super interesting how, as you said, like she went through hardship, but then like obviously didn't want you to have to go through that, or as best as like never try end up in a position like that. So then, as you said, just kind of like leaving all these almost like clues out there, and
Yeah.
like go figure it out for yourself, but do it in a way where like naturally, oh, there's a book, and like being curious enough to like open it and like read into it, I think is um yeah, like super inspiring. And yeah, I love when you talk about that. So growing up, you then have this spark to start your own business, and then in your mid 20s, you decide, right, now's the time to take the leap of faith. Like it's now or never type situation. um that must have been like a very crazy, hectic, challenging time. And I know that there's a lot of listeners that are in their younger 20s, and probably have ambitions of their own, start their own business. So just like, what was that whole period like for you?
So actually starting the business, first of all, I had a business before I started Meticulous Ink. So I was working full time, and my then other half wanted to start a t-shirt printing business, and so I kind of helped him with that. We didn't know anything about fashion, nothing about any of that world, and we're very much like, oh, let's just give it a try, and like bought a fuckload of t-shirts in like loads of different sizes, and then screen printed them. He managed to use some screen printing equipment for free, and he did it like as a swap for him working there. And we had a market stall in Camden, and so that was like a real learning curve. Obviously, the business failed because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We hadn't written a business plan. Like we were just like, let's just do it. So learnt so much from that, and also about the amount of time that it takes to actually be able to pour enough energy into something for it to be successful. So I was still working full time, and it was just like too much for me. Then I was working like 7 days a week on this other thing. And so we closed that. And then, because I was kind of, helping him to do that. So then it was then like, okay, I know I want to do something. This is what I'm going to do. So I started the business plan, I think it was November, December of 2009. Worked on it for a good few months. And then, so I got a business loan in June, and that was third time lucky. I also got 3 credit cards out before I left my old job. And then, because the business loan was less than I had hoped it would be, and then I put my life savings in. And I also, I was very practical about it as well. I knew that it would work. I just knew to my core that it would work. And I thought about it in the way of, okay, if I don't do this, then I'm just going to go and get a job anyway, and that will be fine. If I do this and it doesn't work out, then I would just go and get a job anyway and like pay off the debts, and that will be fine as well. So I might as well try and do the thing and it be this amazing thing that I've created and be able to have a creative life. I did think about it in terms of like the reality of if it does go wrong. And then, so June got the business loan. I think July found the physical shop. August handed in my notice. September got the keys to the shop. October opened.
That's like a lot in a short period of time. That's that's I'm sure there's like blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes as well. But
Absolutely.
yeah, of course, like starting anything like that on that scale. But
like so much admin as well. So much admin.
yeah, I guess I was gonna say that I think around that, like the way you approach it from a mindset point of view, and what you're essentially saying was, I feel like almost as humans in a way, we're almost like wired for like what's like the worst case scenario in a weird way.
Like catastrophe. Oh,
Yeah, like what is the worst thing that could happen here? And it sounds like you'd kind of had that conversation with yourself, and like said, like worst comes to worst, like you've lost money, but you'll just go get another job and then pay it off, and you'll figure
yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time in our minds, we kind of like we can over how can I say it? Like we can almost overcomplicate things and make things that are going to be like so much worse, and then they actually never end up getting that bad of a situation.
The majority of the time, when you're thinking about a situation that could happen, the huge majority of the time, it never happens in that exact specific way anyway. So, when you're going off and imagining, oh, well, this might happen and that person might say this, and that's usually not what happens.
Yeah. So don't get caught up in your own head and get overwhelmed by the worst. Like like don't make out that everything's going to go against you, because that's just not how it works. But at the same
Yeah.
time, worst case scenario, you can just get another job and
Yeah.
you're going to be fine. So I guess like other than obviously there's the financial side, like you said, and the admin side, but was there any other early challenges that stood out to you, which you thought were like pivotal at the time, transitioning, I guess, from being an employee to then having your own business?
Transitioning from employee to business owner, I actually found really easy, which kind of supported like, oh, this is the right thing. This is the thing. The biggest transition we made was actually more in the planning of the business. So in my business plan, we were initially outsourcing the bespoke printing to where I used to work. And in my plan, I planned in the third year to acquire our own presses, and then we would then start to print ourselves. It turned out instead that it was within 3 months we got our first press. So then it was again like tweaking the financials, because then having to acquire more money so we could get the presses, and just things moving a lot faster. And then being okay with that. I was thinking about this the other day actually, that nothing in life stays the same. The seasons change and time moves on, and everything is always constantly changing, even if it's really slowly. And it's kind of knowing that that is going to happen and being okay with, okay, something new is coming in unexpectedly, and I'm going to figure out the solution to that and go with it.
That makes sense. Like, especially if something like a business plan. Like, I imagine you spend months essentially trying to come up with a perfect plan and be like, this is a blueprint. And then to your point, probably like half of that never actually
Oh,
ends up
yeah.
happening, and things
Yeah.
change and shift, and you have to evolve to that and be reactive. And like you say, you then just have to adapt to the environment and like what's happening at the time. Um, yeah, that's a super interesting insight. In hindsight, what is something that you wish you knew when you were first starting in the world of business and entrepreneurship?
It's quite amazing the amount of energy and time that you can magic out of thin air. Like, especially when you're working to build something, when you're in the right place and you really, really want it to grow and to be successful, it's just amazing how hard you would work. Like in that first year, I would say there were like maybe the first 2 years, maybe first 4 years, there were a lot of late nights and getting help from friends. And like there's a few nights where I slept on the floor of the shop. And, it's just amazing the depths of energy that you can produce when you want something to really work.
Yeah, I love that. And like I say, you're building your own thing. You're fully in control, and this actually segues nicely into where I want to go next. But like, I think you're one of the like you're definitely somewhere. I think like who's managed to turn their passion into like their full time thing, and like uh, I learned personally at in the early stage that money wasn't necessarily tied to my happiness, and that I had to chase my happiness and my passions versus like just whatever's going to pay me the most. Um, and I think people are kind of coming around to that more over time, and therefore like more people want to start their own side hustles around making t-shirts, or I don't know, like selling stuff on Shopify or whatever it is, right? Like people are more leaning into their passions now and what they actually want to, what do they enjoy doing. And then to your point, then you have an abundance of energy that you can pour into it and not get as burnt out, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've made a living from the thing you love and your passion, which I think more people want to lean into. So, but I also know there's like a bunch of misconceptions around this. So I'd be interested to know how you'd interpret the following statement, which is if you follow your passion, then you're guaranteed to be successful.
I would agree with that. I think it's important to know what success actually means to you. Like, what is your own personal definition of success? I think that is a really important question to actually ask yourself. It's really easy to, like, as a general overview, to be like, oh, success equals loads of money, right? That's, success means being wealthy. And if you actually take a moment to ask yourself, what is it for me? Is it, having plenty of time so that I can go on holidays? Is it traveling? Is it being able to make every day? Is it, spending the majority of my time with my family and friends? Because really, the answer will be different for every individual. It's not, and I definitely think if you're doing the thing that you really love to do and you're doing it as well as you can, like for me, that is success.
Yeah, I guess to your point, it depends how you define success. But if you define it more through the things that make you happy and the things you love, like you said, then you already are successful at that point. I guess it's more like if it's tied to financial or like wealth, like you say, then there's like you can't guarantee that as such. But yeah, I definitely resonate with your definition of success.
I think as well, money is important.
Sure.
If you're doing the thing you love and you aren't making money from it at all, then that is a problem because money does give you freedom. It means that you can create more time for yourself. It gives you more opportunities. So there's no getting away that money is important. And there are so many different ways of earning money. So you might as well do the thing that you love doing and earn your money from that.
I love that. Yeah, there's so much opportunity out in the world if you're looking for it, and like I say, nowadays, yeah, you can basically do anything and make money from it.
But yeah, pretty much.
Something I found, which I quoted you saying, was "We only live once, and I want everyone to do the thing they love." What advice would you give to someone listening who is considering turning their passion into a side hustle or business?
Plan as much as you can and set yourself a deadline so you actually do the thing. Secondly, don't be afraid to ask for help. Generally, I would say your friends want to help. So, and people around you, they want to be useful. They want to feel like they're contributing. They want to help. Um, so, ask people for help. When I first opened the shop, we had a pizza painting party. So we invited a load of our friends over to help us like paint the place, and we got a load of pizza in, and it was great. It was just a lovely moment, and everyone really wanted to contribute. Then on the opening, then our friends came and they were like, "Oh yeah, I painted this bit of wall." It was like a bit of pride in having contributed to this new thing. So yeah, absolutely ask for help because you never know who knows the person that can provide the exact thing that you need.
I like that, and as you said, like your real friends and like the people that actually want what's best for you and want to support you are gonna like show up and be there. Um, and also then at that point, you're just kind of like building your own community around the thing you love. Um, and yeah, that's cool. What is something you feel that people in life need to be more meticulous about and pay more attention to detail to?
Part of the reason that I chose the name Meticulous Ink is so that I had something to live up to, so that I would try and do everything the best I possibly could. And I also find it really easy to let things go, as in, I am a human being. I'm not a robot. I am going to make mistakes. And that's okay. So I think I wish that people would be more meticulous with their patience, being gentler with themselves.
Do you want to explain that in a bit more detail? Like, why do you think that's the case?
I think generally people find it very easy to jump to the negative and to be hard on themselves, to maybe be too hard on themselves. Although I try and live up to the name Meticulous Ink. I try and get everything as perfect as I possibly can. And I also have a deadline. And I'm human and I know that not everything is going to be absolutely perfect. often so I teach calligraphy workshops as well, and people get so engrossed in getting like the one single stroke absolutely perfect, and they're upset or they're disappointed if that one stroke is a little bit wobbly, even though when you look at the whole page of practice, it's amazing and you can see the progress they've made. I wish people would be a little more gentle with themselves.
It's like I actually really love that. It's like such a great, like, it's probably not a proper metaphor, but like essentially, like, you can be so focused on like one area of like the paper or like your life,
Yeah.
and you want it to go perfect, but naturally there's like ups and downs and you have wobbles. But then like when you take a step back and you kind of see the bigger picture and you see the whole page, you see what you've created,
You're like, oh, I did that. I made that.
something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
Okay, final question is, what is the best piece of advice you have ever heard or received?
There's two things that pop into my head, and they're kind of quotes. The first one, which is one of my favorite quotes, is everything is more beautiful because we are doomed. And I think it's from the Iliad. And I think there's I think it's quite indicative of your own perspective in how you receive that quote. Because for me, I receive it in a really positive way. Like, we're all going to die. Nothing's going to stay the same. We're all going to be gone in 100 years. And therefore, soak up the beautiful sunshine, be present in nature, and go for long walks and make beautiful things and really appreciate the beauty there is, because it's not going to be here. And you're not going to be here to appreciate it. The other thing that comes to mind is luck is believing that you're lucky. And I honestly believe I'm a lucky person. And I think good things happen. Good things happen to me. And I think it is a lot about perspective. And if you're looking out for the positive things, then you'll be able to see more and more and more. If you're only looking out for the negative things, then you'll only be able to see more and more of that negativity. And yeah, I like honestly believe that I'm a really lucky person.
Yeah, I like the fact that, like you say, we have one life and make the most of it, and don't allow the things that are inconvenience or that make you upset in the moment to get a hold of you, because naturally there's also things which are going great and good as well. And
And also, we're like a bunch of humans on a planet in the middle of a dark galaxy. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, the odds of being alive on this time in this, like, with the technology we have nowadays, and like with like healthcare and modern healthcare and stuff, is like the odds of that are just pretty wild in itself. So yeah, I like that a lot. And yeah, the second quote,
luck is believing you're lucky.
that's a fun one, but I feel that you naturally give out such good vibes and positivity into the world anyway that you kind of deserve some of that back in return.
Well, I 100% believe in karma. Like,
Yeah.
I think of karma as being like scientific, because if you put out good stuff, then good stuff is going to happen. Like, if you're a knobhead, then bad stuff is probably going to happen. So, like, it makes complete logical sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you might not see it straight away, but it could have an effect in like 5 years' time if something good happens. And it's because of that relationship you made, that time you went above and beyond for a customer, or that time you just showed kindness on the street to someone. And yeah, it's just like the small things, and they all compound and add up over time. So I love that. And I think that's a very fitting way to end this episode. So thank you very much, Fina, for coming on today.
Thanks, Ben.
If anyone listening would love to follow Athena's journey more, then the links to all the Meticulous Ink socials will be in the description. Check out, of course, the amazing calligraphy on offer. If you have a chance to go
Yes.
to Bath in the UK, go to a shop.
Yeah.
And Also doing coaching courses now, or coaching sessions now, so that's also fun.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us, to leave a review, and to connect with us on our socials.